Brian put me on the spot. I didn't know it was so packed in here. We was backstage, and of course, you know, like, of course, when you're looking at a screen and the full acoustics don't come through, and you're like, oh, it looks like everybody's just rehearsing. And then I come out here, it's like, wow, everybody leaves Disneyland and comes across the street. Hey, what's up, bro? Yeah, really, Brian is a fine example of why this is not an individual thing. I usually don't accept individual accolades, trophies. I don't really accept anybody that says it's about me. I think my whole career, it's been because of a we, not a me. We just turned the M upside down, all right? And I think that is also the collective strength and the beginnings of this industry. Yes, we can look at NAMM being, and I was told it was, you know, I've been coming intermittently into NAMM maybe the past 25 to 30 to 40 years and thought I was big doo-doo. And then somebody told me, nah, I've been around 120 years, dog. And then I always thought I was a visitor too, because I come from a technical background of musicians and DJs and turntablists and equipment people, and I can't play the state lottery. However, my respect, and big up to Keith Shocklee in the house. Hank Shocklee, you know, I come from that DJ background where I tell this story plenty of times. We started out as being scientists and archivists of musicians, music, DJs, radio jocks, turntablists, inventors. You know, I mean, you know, Hank has the ears of God. You know, after we finished putting everything together with the scratching of a DJ Johnny Juice, you know, on the left side, or a Terminator X, and myself, Keith, and Eric Vietnam Sadler. Later on, Gary G. Wiz putting together the alchemy of a whole bunch of sight sounds or whatever. The important fact is that we had to know where these sounds come from. We just didn't just throw them and say we don't know nothing. You know, just to be able to see Breakbeat Lou later on today and made it come full circle, that we knew that a DJ could be a band like Run DMC said, but you have to have the knowledge of the records. And we knew people like Bam, knew the master of records, and we have people like seriously a pioneering mentor, DXT. Give it up for Graham Mixer, DXT. We played, and listen, we proudly played these records. And we proudly played records that just wasn't known as, like, later on, as like, you got a hip hop record. There was no such thing as a record, hip hop record. This is a record. It's a good record versus a record that might not be as good, because you learn later on that art is subjective, okay? And everybody has art in them. The process of getting art outside of yourself is a whole nother thing. And nobody taught me that more than Brian Hardgroove, who later on became the component along when the Public Enemy performances around the world, 116 countries, would say, the stuff that you guys put together in the studio, we could figure out what it actually is made of. Because really, if a guy like Hank makes the mix of all the mess, and he's a guy that makes the band go to the record, then you got something that somebody could say, oh, that's the shit right there, they're performing, wow. So it's about the knowledge of what you're doing, and all due respect to every single musician and vocalist out there, y'all. I would be pissed off if I was a musician, a technologist, to just have people just jump and use something and never give a fuck about you. And this is where I come in. I come in to understand when I see a Lord Vanessa or a DJ Jazzy Jeff, who I first happened to see in 1986, him and a young guy named Willard Smith. And y'all, you know, y'all might know him as a TV guy, but we knew him as this motherfucker that rhymes all goddamn day. With a dude that's DJing all goddamn day. I'm like, this is hip hop's second golden age generation. They can't stop doing it. But the beginning of the knowledge and the respect for musicians. It's like, you can't, in this day, I think it's disrespectful to make light of scholarship. Because people just think they could just be what they want to be by looking in the screen and thinking just because they're a screenager, they're a scholar too, right? Give me 5 minutes on this. I got 5 libraries, you know, but I'm not a scholar. I read what I like. Scholars read every goddamn thing, the good, bad, and the ugly, and then have a conversation about it. That's the same thing with technologists and DJs and musicians. They could play any goddamn thing, but they process it to a point where you can dig it, pick it up, and it's palatable to your taste. They can do anything, and they spend time at it. So they do the good, bad, and the ugly so they could possibly come up with something that could be a universal language. And that's the gift of music. And that's what I think is the core that holds the world together for our similarities and knocks the bullshit differences to the side. All right? So we as DJs and people in hip hop, we honor y'all. We honor music. We honor people that spend the time to figure out the notes. Or figure out, like Miles Davis says, ain't no fucking bad note, because you don't know if it's a bad note until the next note. Well, I was a little Howlin' Wolf on that one. That was more Howlin' Wolf than Miles. But it paid for us to know that we don't make light of a Skunk Baxter, even though he might not know shit about us, but we know who he is. We don't make light of people in Roberta Flack's band, or we got the great Will Calhoun and Muzz from Living Color and people like that. We never made light of any musician ever. That's what made us. We learned from people like DXT and the Masters and the Grand Masters of Flash and people like that, Kool Herc, like to hear DXT talk about the beginnings and DJs like Grandmaster Flowers and people like Maboya and people like that, and y'all hearing it for the first time, we're saying that these DJs never ever would make light of your musicianship. And that's what I learned from people like Keith Shocklee, who hazed me as my first DJ, and I was his MC. And he said, Chuck, you don't hold a record like this. You hold a record like it's a piece of fucking gold, like this, with your finger in the middle of the hole and your thumb at the edge of the record, and you gracefully put it into the sleeve. And when you take it out of the sleeve like this. This is paying homage to the musicianship, all right? So whether it's a piece of vinyl, or a CD, you don't call it a CD. You remember the era of CDs? And people just say, oh yeah, that's track 9. How disrespectful, disingenuous bullshit is that? Artist puts a title to a song with songwriters, and people just, I went to CVS or Walgreens, got me a whole crate of CDs, and that shit is track 8. What the fuck? Radio stations with their bullshit, where they become more corporate, like, we're the radio station with more music and less talk. I need a DJ to fucking tell me what the fuck it is. Don't tell me about fucking sandwiches at 2 o'clock and the goddamn weather. Let me know who's the musicians in that record so I can pay homage as we go into the what? MP3 era. And it's more than just a stack of ass files and shit that's rolling through a screen in a computer. You pay homage to the musicians, to the artists, to the name of the record, the songwriters, you know, the musicianship. That's where we come from as DJ culture, to be able to explain to the world the beauty and the gift of music. So, damn, this a heavy motherfucker like DXT said. But it would be honored with grace to understand this is actually in praise of y'all. This ain't no me thing. It ain't never a me thing. And I'm very fortunate to have people such as hard-moving people that travel with me. We gotta come with this to know what the fuck we're talking about. We talk about music. No, I'm not a businessman. I am not a politician. I am an artiste. That's what I am. But I also will speak truth to power over bullshit. And that's where I come from, but I don't think that comes just from the music industry. That comes from my parents, who are 1,000%. 1,000. And they were influenced by a family that was structurally solid, but also an industry or a music business or musicians, because they're from 151st Street in the 40s and 50s, so they had to be 150% solid. Music spoke to us and it set us free. And that's what we always thought we had to set us free. So it's a we thing and not a me thing, but I don't want to be disrespectful to NAMM by saying, okay, I'm not going to pay attention. No, we all could share this. If I could break this shit in 1,000,000 pieces, I'll give it to each and every one of y'all out there. All right? So in closing, I want you to really seriously know that, okay, there's equipment and it's time to learn the equipment and retailers and they have a fantastic time and that's a beautiful thing. And I think I'll talk about it tomorrow with Brian, at least where I think where we're going right now. Artificial intelligence is not getting dumber, especially in the era of dumbassification. You as an artist and a musician have to figure out a way how to dance with this motherfucker. It won't get dumber. And you look around and society looks like it's falling the fuck off into stupidity, and artificial intelligence is coming like a locomotive on nuclear steroids in outer space. I know, I've been a graphic illustrator since 1960, when I was born. I know I've been dipping and dabbing into music, and I've heard all the talk about, well, how music is this and musicians are that, and we are being invaded. I mean, have y'all seen the speed of Chat GPT and everything else? And it ain't whack. That's the problem, it ain't whack. It's putting together some shit that makes you go like, damn. But the great Prince, my good friend, Prince Rogers Nelson, said, try your best to be on top of the technology, because if you don't, it'll be on top of your ass. That's just real talk. And one thing I know about people like, you see that DJ down there, Johnny Juice? He's always, you know, Keith Shocklee, Hank Shocklee, look, Gary G, they always was on top of technology. I was the dumb motherfucker. I was able to like string together and be the voice of their efforts, and I was proud to do so and still proud to do so for this day. So, in closing, right, for the second time, of course, but I wanted to get that point about artificial intelligence, because y'all know it's right in your fucking pocket. And one thing we know, you might not like it, but everybody got the motherfucking gadget in their pocket attached to their hip. You want to get a real emotion? Let me take your phone and smash it against the wall, or smash it with one of this. I wouldn't get out this fucking room. So that's real. How do we dance with it as musicians and artists and creators and technologists and DJs and bass players and guitarists and people that say, well, damn, I ain't gotta write the speech, all I gotta do is pour it in the GPT blender. How do we deal with that? What's the next 2 generations or 3 generations looking like? Since they're only 3 to 5 years apart. Every 5 years is a generation, whether you believe it or not. So that's a challenge. But, you know, it's hard to challenge that shit drunk. Or fucked up. Because AI ain't getting fucked up. AI ain't on fentanyl or cocaine. AI is a motherfucker, yo. So thank you. I think I'm gonna do a short little half a verse. But you know what? this is my honoring of all the greats that's coming into this conference this year, because this is a turning point, y'all. 2023 is a turning point. We're 2 years past the pandemic, and what is 2024 looking like when you got a 81-year-old dude with a 78-year-old dude saying he won his title, his presidency back? So we don't know. Let the music stay free, peace.
So I'm going to take this opportunity to play a few bars with you. I brought some friends to get down with us. Hey,